All right, well, I just caught up with the incredible Andrew Lawton leading the charge on pushing back on C-9. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Well, thank you. This was a grassroots effort. This was, not just me out there. This was, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Canadians that were speaking up on this issue.
Yeah, and I was so proud of our network. We thought, we launched a phone call cafe. We thought we might make 15,000 phone calls, crushed it. 40,000 phone calls. Did you feel the effects of that when you were at Parliament? Were people saying like, hey, my bowls won't stop? Like, so any feedback?
Yeah, it was funny. I was actually at the airport on the way to one of our events, and I was sitting beside a Liberal MP at the airport, and she had indicated that her phone had been ringing a lot, and I was joking at one of my speeches that I was so impressed by what you did, but it was also a good reminder to never end up on your bad side, seeing what you're capable of when you want to be able to put pressure on. You say that, but it was important, and I think it speaks to how Canadians understood that this wasn't just some general bill that is important to oppose. This was something that has a really crucial set of stakes, and people needed to rise to the challenge urgently, and they did it. It's not over yet, but we have had some good movement, and I think it's important that pressure has been put on the government right now.
Yeah. And so for those of you catching up on this, C-9, a hate speech legislation, removing protection for sincerely held faith beliefs, and a bunch of other things that are problematic. So it's temporarily been paused. We're probably going to be picking up that fight around the middle of February. But we're here at the convention. What are some of your dominant reflection points so far?
Well, look, I think one thing that's really clear is that we have a leader, and we're united as a party behind him. The members were very decisive in Kare Polyev, giving him a really resounding majority there. We need to move forward on that, hold the government to account, while also showing that we're going to move forward and work with them when they have policies that are going to, help our economy, help people. We saw yesterday, speaking of C-9, Canadians get up and get a standing ovation when Pierre talked about the importance of protecting religious freedom. So this is an issue that's clearly relevant to the base here. So I think we have a lot that we need to do in Canada, but we need to go forward.
Yeah, he really emphasized crime, cost of living, a whole lot. It was a long speech, 50 minutes. People can watch it online. I want to talk about the social policies. A lot of our folks, that's kind of look, everybody's on the same page when it comes to cost of living. We all want, less government, lower taxes, lower cost of living. Where you saw dissonance was actually in the social policies. Were you in any of those? Just about induction that were you doing?
I take the view that, members need to be the ones driving policy. So as a caucus member, I have not engaged in that process because I want members to have their say.
Well, that's not true with some of your colleagues, though. Some of your colleagues came in really hard against pro-life delegates.
I think that we have a delegate process that sends people here, and these voices need to be heard. And I think as a party, I am proud to be part of a party that has always respected conscience rights, and I wouldn't have run as an MP if I didn't have that. And it's one of the reasons I've also been so active on the NAID file right now, because that's a here and now issue where people of conscience in Canada are incredibly concerned about the expansion of MAID, and that's something that we have a deadline coming up on with Bill C-218.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is the two MAID policies failed. Like, they're not actually going to be on the floor this afternoon, but two of your colleagues are bringing forward private members' bills to advance protection for vulnerable people when it comes to MAID. And so just because something doesn't pass the policy convention doesn't mean that a member of parliament can't pick it up out of their own volition if it reflects their viewpoint and the viewpoint of their varieties. Any other dominant thoughts for the convention here?
Look, I think these conventions are very important. I also think it's important that we're listening to the broader array of Canadians, not just those who are so engaged in a party that they come to a convention. And I think that's, to go back to your efforts on C-9, I think that's really important. I think when you have 40,000 people calling Liberal members of Parliament, these are people whose voices need to be heard. And that's something certainly as a member of Parliament I'm committed to, and my colleagues, I think, are very aligned on that as well.
Now, one of the big push points on getting support behind Pierre was that it looks like Prime Minister Carney might call a snap election in the spring. I'm hearing a lot of chatter about that. What's your vibe?
The Liberals would love nothing more. They were dangling election narratives as basically leverage to get their budget passed in the fall. They're doing the same thing now. I would hope that Canadians would see through a really brazen, opportunistic move by that, especially when we are in a minority parliament. These Canadians are expecting parties to work together. I think the Liberals right now, we've seen even through floor crossers, have tried to artificially engineer a majority that Canadians did not give them. And I think that's something that people should, across the country, be very mindful of.
Wow. Okay, so in a few moments, actually, we're going to go for lunch. Everybody's going to go get some food. And then we're going to be back to vote on the policies that actually did make it to the final round. We're going to be voting on parental rights, defunding CPC. Former independent journalist. What do you think about that one?
Look, I think that, I had to raise money to do any of the work that I did in media, and, we had to sell advertising, we had to do all of these things. I think that's what every private sector media company should do, and when they have to compete with a taxpayer-funded behemoth, there's a bit of an imbalance there.
Awesome. Final words to any of our viewers here. Be here next time.
Just say thank you, get engaged not just in elections, but between. That's the way we get to build the country we want.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you. Much respect, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you.